Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're going to work on an OB11 doll today. And I did go ahead and put some Liquitex matte medium on the head, about 3 coats, and let it dry. So that's going to protect the face and also help us if we have to make any corrections to not mess up the plastic underneath. So let's go. Hey guys, thought I'd work on a little OB11 doll today. Just kind of loving the teeny tiny dolls currently. So I have this OB11 body, Obitsu, if you're not familiar with what OB means. And I have this head that I got from AliExpress. And this cute little outfit that I don't even remember where I got. Darling shoes, somebody on Etsy, some eyeballs, and we'll put hair on it too. So the first step is we're going to have to cut the head open. We won't put the eyes in quite yet, but I like to go ahead and cut the head open first and get that out of the way. So I just use an X-Acto, be careful if you're doing that. And we'll just, glue it back on once we get to that point. But I just have this passion for these little tiny dolls. They're just so cute. And I love the little clothes. I don't know who makes them. I think it's elves somewhere with tiny little hands and tiny little sewing machines, because I can't make them. I mean, I guess I could if I really tried, but I don't want to. I just don't like making little tiny doll clothes. Blythe is about my speed in terms of size. I've done some midi Blythes, but I still don't like that either. Alright, so we're going to put this aside and go ahead and cut the backs of the eyes. If you see this, there's a plastic coating, so the way to get to that is just to cut around the top and open that up. I usually leave the flap at the bottom just because this could help to hold the eye in. I will glue them, but I just like to leave it just in case. And the reason I'm doing this ahead of time, since I'm not ready to put the eyes in, is that I'm going to be, painting the face, so I don't want to be messing with it after I've painted it and mess up the artwork that I've done. So I usually use the eyes that came with it, although you can, buy different eyes if you wanted to. Just get the right millimeter, but these dark eyes look really good. I don't know why they do. Alright, so we've kind of got the doll's head prepared, and if there's any dirt or anything on it, I'll wash it, but this one looks pretty well clean. So the next step is I'm going to put some Liquitex matte medium on it, and to do that I like to use a really soft brush. So I'm going to just use this brush. It's very, very, very soft. And I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of this. Whoop, it was actually more than I wanted. I like to just put thin coats, but do more than one. Because if you put too thick of a coat, it tends to leave brush marks. So I'm going to actually get rid of some of that. And make sure that you've got everything covered and there's no hair or debris in it. We're going to coat it with Mr. Super Clear when we get to the very end to protect it, but I'm just kind of liking the Liquitex. It does tend to even out as it dries, levels. So we're going to let that dry. I'm going to put 2 more coats on, and then we'll get started with putting the face on. Off and start over. So none of the pigment will leach into the plastic. Also, it makes a really grippy surface so that the pastels and the watercolor pencils and everything kind of stick to it better and show the colors. So that's the reason for that. There are different mediums you can use, but I kind of love the Liquitex matte medium. And then I like to put the Mr. Super Clear spray on at the end because it has the nicest finish. No question about that. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is a little work on the eyes. And I'm using watercolor pencils. I use chalk pastels, watercolor pencils. And I always have my brushes ready. And I also have some toothpicks and some Q-tips ready for smudging or whatever. I always tend to need those. And I have a cup of water handy. Sometimes I'll use water with the watercolor pencils. So I'm just going to take a dark brown pencil now and just kind of go around the inside of the eye. I like to do that to just give the eye more definition. It's not something that's really dark. Excuse me while I turn my phone off. Why? Why did I not do that before? Sorry about that. Making lots of noise. There's no really one way to do face-ups. You just kind of learn and you base it on the kind of expression that you want to have. So this particular doll, I want it to be kind of a cute little thing because I have little glasses I'm going to use. Isn't that cute? And then she's making the pucker mouth, so it's just going to be sort of a cute look. Now I'm going to take the black, and I always have my pencil sharpener here because it really helps to have a nice sharp tip when you're working on these. And I'm just going to go right above the eye opening to make a little crease. Working on little dolls can be really painstaking, but they're just so cute that it's worth it. So I haven't talked to you guys in a while, and I've been really busy with a new job that I have and also moving. Yeah, I'm no longer in Florida. I'm in Tennessee. So I have a move that was about a month ago, a little over a month ago. It was pretty stressful. Lots goes into moving. Now I'm just going to put some little eyelash marks kind of at the corner. And then I'm going to do some eyebrows. I'm just going to use a brush like this and get some pastels. Let me show you my pastel box. I got all the colors. All of the colors. So I like to sometimes do pastel and then put some of the watercolor pencil over the top, just like to make strokes. So one thing I've learned is always get a lot of the product off before you put it on, because it's going to go on too dark and then you ruin it. You can always darken it up, but you can't easily take it off without starting over. So I'm kind of doing an arch brow because I want it to be a little bit of a cute, almost a surprise kind of look. Eyebrows are really important, I think, for the doll's expression. They can really change how a doll looks. Actually, they can change how humans look. Okay, you can already start to see some expression coming through there. And then I'm going to take my dark brown and just make some strokes across the top. This just makes it look a little bit more like hair, more realistic. But I like putting the pastel underneath because it gives it a little bit more of a natural look. kind of softens it up. It's not just harsh pencil lines. Usually when I start working on a doll, I'll, make some initial design, and then I'll end up going back and changing things. Like right now I'm thinking that I'm going to add brown here. And for the lips, I usually do pastel. Sometimes I'll outline it with a pencil, but I think for this one, I want it to be really soft. So I'm going to use the same brush, but I want to make sure I get all the brown off of it. So I'm just going to rub it over the paper towel. And then let's see how this looks. Now the inside of the mouth, I usually do a little bit darker because that's going to be more realistic looking. So I might go in with a little bit darker color and just put it right inside there. And it gives it a little bit of a shadow. And I'll get rid of some of that and then darken up the outside a little bit. So if there's a little kid like this, they're not going to have like super dark lips, but if you don't get enough color on them, it just seems like it's all very faded looking. Doesn't have a lot of definition. So that looks good. Alright, now I want to put a little bit of color up over the top of the eye, and I want it to be sort of a tan color. So we'll see how that looks. Very light, not anything too dark, but I just want it to look a little bit darker than the rest of the skin. Adding color just really gives dimension to a face. I mean, it's just like if we wear makeup, it just gives more dimension to the face. So I think I want to add some of a sort of reddish brown just over the eye. Okay, that's looking good. And for the cheeks, I want to have a blush that looks natural, but almost like a, how when you have the cold hit your face and it looks like that pretty rosy look. Again, just go slow. You can always add to it. This is a really soft brush that I've found works really well, and you can tell I've used it a lot because it's all peeled off. But I'm not giving it up. And I'm putting this color right directly on the apple of the cheek. Okay. Now, another thing I like to do is give the outer part of the face some definition, and for that I'm going to use a tan color also. So I don't want it to be too dark, I just want it to be sort of like a shadow. And also the ears. The ears do have some color and they hit the sun, so I like to give them a little bit of color. The hairline is going to be right about here, so I'd put a little bit past that, but otherwise I don't. Alright, now I think I got this a little bit too dark, so I'm just going to use a Q-tip and see if I can spread that out a little bit more. We'll make it more muted into the skin. And I want to put some, let's see if I can do this without messing it up. I want to make little nostril holes. So that wasn't very dark, so I'm going to use a little bit darker brown. That's a little bit better. Why one nostril's darker than the other one, I don't know. That's looking better. I think I'll put a little bit of dark in the inner, just that, you know, ear canal in the very back. Looking pretty cute. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Now a little bit more shading, and I'm just going to use some brown that I already have here, and hopefully it'll be very light. Just in the places there would be shadows where the skin folds. Maybe the corners of the mouth or the corners of the nose. Under the lip, bottom lip, across the chin. Sometimes right in here in the philtrum. Okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now, you know, sometimes people like to put eyelashes on the dolls. I'm not going to do that for these little dolls, but if you did, you would want to glue it just underneath where the eye is, right in here. Personally, I think for a little kid, it's not really necessary. I do it for my adult dolls. You could put a few little eyelash strokes if you want to. I think that's really all we need. Okay. So the next step will be, I'm going to spray this with Mr. Super Clear. I'll put 3 coats on, and you know, use your respirator, remember? And we'll come back then and we'll insert the eyes. And then probably I'll also put some clear acrylic paint on the lips so that they'll be shiny. All right, hang loose. Be right back. Okay, we got our little face sprayed. I'm using Mr. Super Clear UV Cut Matte. Always make sure you get the matte. There is a gloss version. All right, and then at this point, I would like to put the eyeballs in. All right. So, may sound easy, but it's not. So I have the eyes that came with it. So I'm going to use those. And you know this channel, we're going to use some soap, E6000. And I like the little tubes. I know I've probably said this before, but I like the little tubes because you can use them and they don't get dried up and they're easier to use. I just like them. You guys do you. All right, so we're going to put the eyeball in, hopefully. Like that. And then going to put a little bit of glue on the back of it. Because we want to hold it in. Just have to be careful because you know, the eyes can move around, so you want to make sure they don't get glued in. Oh no, I got glue on it. In the wrong position. Alright, put a little glue on the back of that one. And now, against all desires, you must leave it alone until the glue dries. Sorry, you just have to. If you mess it up, you're going to be so mad at yourself. So, we'll just let that dry. We'll come back after it's dry. And the next step, oh my gosh, I got glue on the face. I think I can get it off. So the next step will be, we're going to glue the head back on. And then we'll be able to put the hair on. Alright, so we'll just leave that there for now. And see you guys in a little bit. While we're waiting for the head to dry, I thought one of the things we could talk about is blushing the body, which some people like, some people don't. So I would just say that you would use a very light hand and definitely always, you know, get rid of some. Just trying to use the knee, you know, like the knees and the elbows, the joints basically. Maybe a little bit on the chest and stomach. My dogs are playing. Ignore that. Shoulders. Maybe the back of the hands. Very subtle. You don't want to get it too dark or it looks stupid. Yeah. Alright, here's where your Q-tip comes in. Dip it in the water. And you can get rid of the mistakes that you make. Just put way too much on the hand. Maybe the feet a little bit. Maybe the butt. It's purely up to you. This makes it look a little bit cuter, but then again, it's going to have clothes on, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, so that part's done. Now, so here's a head. It's mostly dry. Turned out really cute. Now, the thing that we have to do is to match the hair. So, like, I always try to look at this as a whole picture. I'm really creating a little person here, but I'm creating a character. So you got the little jeans and the little red shoes. I like this because they have cats, and then the jeans have cats on it too. So the question is, what color hair? So I always have a bag of alpaca fibers that I have used over the years, or mohair. I have this kind of dirty blonde color. So let's back up a little bit so we can see. I have this red color, but I don't really want to use that. That's too much. Let's see. I don't like to dye this because it really doesn't accept the dye very well, but I do have these lighter colors if I ever wanted to do that. So like a white. Meh. I think it would look good with more of a brown color. So I'm trying to find something sort of brownish. And I don't know why. I don't seem to have anything. This is like a light blonde. This is a weft. This is mohair. This is not alpaca fiber, but it's not very long. So depending on what kind of hair you want it, hairstyle, like pigtails or whatever. That's kind of cute. I like that. This is a dark brown. Same thing, weft. Kind of like to do pigtails, Sort of. I have so many scraps of alpaca fiber that I've collected over the many years I've been doing this. I have black. I just, I don't think so. Maybe just brown. I don't know if I have enough of this. Possibly. That's kind of cute. I'm thinking more the brownish color. What do you guys think? So after the head's completely dry, then we'll put some hair on it. We're going to glue it on so it doesn't matter that this, shows the seam because we're going to glue right on top of it. Alright, so next step will be putting on the hair. So I've decided on this color. I think this will be well. And the style I want is to have her have bangs and then to have a center part and then do some little pigtails on the side. Now, when you're thinking about doing a hair, you have to think about hiding where you're gluing it. So when you think about bangs, you have to think about, are you going to put a row of hair coming down and then put another one that would flip back and then you would not see the seam? Or, if you do a center part, you've got to cut this open and put some hair down in there so that it looks like a natural part, and that'll cover up what you've glued. So for the bangs, that's a little bit harder because you're going to have to do an additional cut. So for the middle part, you just need to cut an opening down the middle. Oh, that makes me mad. What? And then I'll cut myself. Okay, let's see if we can get this tight. Alright, so we're going to cut this. Down the middle. Oh, my glue came loose. I guess it wasn't completely dry. That's okay. We'll do this part and then we'll let it dry. Now you're going to have to go back because you're going to have a part of this that needs to hang over the back of the hair that you glue on. You can always buy wigs too. I mean, a lot of people like to have wigs for their dolls. Alright, so we got the center part, and now what we want to have is a place to put the bangs. So we're just going to make a cut like this. hopefully without cutting ourselves. All right, I have to re-glue this. But anyway, so what we'll do is we'll put the bang hair here, insert it, and have it come down. And then you'll notice I didn't cut this all the way to the top, so we'll have a little bit of hair coming out of this that we spread and put over that. So we'll do that whole process together, and I'll show you how it's done. But for now, we're gonna have to let this head dry. All right, hang on. All right, I think this is finally dried. I left it overnight. I get a little bit too anxious sometimes. So we're going to start by working on the bangs. And we're going to insert hair into here with glue to hold it. And then part of it we're going to pull down and cut for the bangs. And the other part we'll leave long to pull back to cover any gluing that we do up here. So I'm going to take pieces of this. This is Tibetan lamb hair, I think it's called, and I'm basically just going to cut it and try to comb out the ends just to make sure we've got it kind of even. And then I'm going to take some E6000 and just put it on the ends to hold the ends together. And kind of make it back and forth to get it all through all the layers. And then I'm just going to lay that aside, and I'm just going to keep making some little wefts like that because I like for them to get dry before I try to insert it. Also, you know, sometimes if it's really super curly, you might need to use a flat iron. I have a little small flat iron I'll use for the doll hair. Hopefully I don't have to dig that out because this is pretty even. Just basically want to get it to where it's holding together. Can make more work of this later if we need to. Okay, I'm going to keep making some more of these because then I have to do the same thing for the part, the middle part. So I'm going to actually need quite a bit of this. If you don't feel like it's thick enough, you can always take two of these wefts then and glue them together. But having them connected like this is really helpful. Makes it a little bit easier to work with. It's really hard to just jam hair down into these cracks that's not glued together. E6000 dries pretty fast, so you have to keep that in mind when you're working with this. Just work pretty quickly to get this on here, and then it'll pretty much start to dry right away. I think I'll do one more, and then we'll see about putting them together. You don't have to do this with bare hands either. If you don't want to, you could put gloves on. I just can't stand wearing gloves and make my hands sweat. But if you don't like to have glue on your fingers, sometimes it helps to wear gloves. Alright, so let's look at what we have. Put these over here to dry. They're already pretty much dried. So if I look at the space that I have, I'm probably going to put 2 of these together, like, and overlap it just a little bit. So I'll have 2 and I'll overlap it and then just glue it together. So that'll be for the bangs. And then I'm going to glue these completely overlapping because I want to make a really nice thick weft to go into that part area. And then it'll split, so it'll go like that. And then it'll look like a natural part. So we'll put those together. And I'm going to even put this on one end because I want it to be really nice and thick. Okay, now we're going to let that dry and cap off our glue. Okay, so we got this piece for the bangs. And I'm just going to cut this even. Okay. And you can use a, you know, like the tail of the comb if you have one for this. But basically what I do is if I squeeze this, you see how it opens this up? And then I can just sort of tuck that down in there like that. And if needed, use the tail of the comb to push it down in there. Alright, so you can see now it's stuck down in there. Now we do want to put some glue on this, so what I'm going to do is put the glue right here and right here at the edge, and then push it down a little bit further. This is where I'm going to use my toothpick. I'm really trying now to not have it on my hands, because if I start handling the hair, and also this is good to put it right at the base. So this will go inside the head and hopefully keep it held in there. And I like this because, you know, then, you know, if you need to mess with a doll's hair, if you need to wash it or comb it, it's pretty secure. E6000 is really strong. So now I'm just going to take this and push this further down in there a little bit so that the glue is all down inside. Now we are going to be putting some hair. We're going to put glue hair up here, but this will be to basically hide that. So I want it to be pretty neat. All right. So that's our bangs. And I'm going to let this dry before I do this part, just so I don't get the glue on any of the hair that I'm putting in. All right, so be back soon. Okay, now we're ready to insert the middle part here. So we have our hair here. I'm going to trim this off just like I did the other, so it's even. just tends to go down there a little bit easier. Alright, same procedure. I'm just gonna squeeze it open. And just jam it down in there. Now this part is shorter than the hair, so that's okay though, because I want to kind of bunch it up on the ends so that it covers up more. But make use of, you know, toothpicks or whatever you have. Not cooperating at all. Okay, I think we got it pretty much jammed in on that side. So let's look at this side. Still need to jam this in a little bit. Okay, now the next step is, without getting any glue on this other part, to put some glue here and here. And then to push it down. All right, so we're going to have our E6000 here. To pull the hair over to one side, and then put that down in there. I'm really trying to be careful not to get a lot of it close to this other hair, because it'll get glued together. And then you just stuff it down in there. Keeping in mind that when E6000 dries, it can kind of get a little bit hard. It doesn't dry like really soft. So if there's glue residual left up here, it's going to turn hard and just, you know, doesn't feel like hair. So that's why I really try to get it fully down in there and not leave any of the residual glue up on the top. All right, and best now to step away from the doll and let the glue dry. And then we can come back and start gluing on the rest of the hair. I'm not going to cut the bangs yet until we get all the hair on, and then we'll be ready. So anyway, that's the start, and I think you can see that based on how you want to do the hair, that's how you need to, you know, make your cuts. Like if you wanted to just have a middle part, you would just do a middle part and not do the bangs. But that's a different technique of how you would have hair adjusted so that it doesn't show. We may do that in another video for you. I probably have already done that in my past. I've done a lot of hair in dolls, but if not, just stay tuned and we'll finish up this little cutie pie after this dries. I think we have a good solidly dried glue. A couple of places here it seems like it's a little hard, but I may be able to fix it. I'm not sure. We'll see. It's a process. Always an adventure. All right. So I'm going to start putting the hair down, and I'm going to do the back. I'm going to do part of the back and kind of work my way up because it's going to be tedious to put this in, and I'd like to get this down first and then have that be dry. So I pulled out my little tiny hair straightener, flat iron, that I'm going to use. I want to make sure that I get the ends really flat when I put them down. It's just easier if I flat iron them. So I'm just going to do this a little bit at a time. Otherwise it can get really messy. So if you comb it out, you get rid of some of the excess fluff. And then I'm going to flat iron the end, just the end part. That way I can kind of see how even or uneven it is if I need to cut it, because I'm going to glue this directly on. I don't want to glue it and then put it on. So what I'll do is do it like this and then cut it even. Alright, and then I'm going to take my E6000 and put a bit of glue down on the head and then glue this hair right directly to it. Okay, so just like that, start over here and then just press it down. Now I want to make sure that the glue goes all the way through the thickness of the hair, so you kind of have to hold it, press it a little bit. Usually it'll work. If you feel like you need a little bit more, you can always put some on top. Just make sure you hold on to the bottom of the hair or you'll pull it apart when you're pushing down on the glue. You can see how the hair turns a little bit darker too, where the glue is, so you kind of know then. So that's nice. All right, so now we're going to come over to this side. You don't have to make it too thick, you know, because then it doesn't stick well. And you're going to be putting, you know, more layers, so. I got this on Amazon, by the way, if anybody's wondering. I get everything on Amazon. I have a little miniature curling iron too, which if you've been watching my channel, you've probably seen. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit more glue here. You definitely want to overlap it with the previous hair that you put down, just so there's no gaps. I'm not going to go up here yet. I want to just focus on the back. So I'm going to let that dry a minute. Also want to make sure I've got another tube ready to go. Yeah, you have to puncture the top of these small ones. So I want to make sure it's ready in case I need it. If you work with this this type of fiber, either the sheep fiber or the alpaca fiber, it tends to be so fine that it just gets everywhere. So that's why I try to keep things kind of cleaned up as I go. Otherwise, I will see this all over my house, all over my clothes, all over everything. So I have 2 dogs, but they're Yorkies, so they don't really shed. So can't blame it on them. I know I'll be somewhere and my husband will hold up a strand of hair. He's like, where did this come from? Probably from a doll. And it's sticky, like it just sticks to you. It's so fine, like a spider web. Okay, so this is pretty dry, see already? I'm gonna go ahead and come over here and put down some more hair. If you have different lengths of hair, like sometimes, especially with alpaca fiber, when they shear them, there'll be different lengths, not exactly the same. Usually they're close, but always start with the shorter hair that you have back here, and then as you go up, you would want to use the longer hair because you'd lose about, an inch or so as you go up to make it about the same length all the way around. I'm going to go ahead and put another row here. Oh, I don't know what happened to that. It's very short. Uh-oh. Sometimes when they shear them, they get just a tiny little bit from one place. Okay, so we're going to put another row. I'm going to come up here. Kind of start on one side and then just sort of spread it to the other side. Now, I think I said this earlier, but there's really no right or wrong way to do this. It's just, this is how I've come to do it over many years. I have done lots of wigs too, but I just feel like they end up looking more natural when I glue the hair down. It's like with a wig. It looks like a wig for some reason. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit on each of the sides here. I like alpaca fiber a lot because it's so similar to human hair. The suri type anyway, not the hoaka, or however you say it. Two types of alpacas. The suri have the thin, fine hair that's like human hair. And the hoaka, which is spelled H-U-A-C-A, I believe. It has more of a thick, wiry hair, which I guess you could use for some applications, but typically for these dolls, because you're dealing with something so small, if you put something that's thick in general, it just doesn't look right. You have to actually go the other direction, you know, get something a little bit thinner to look more realistic, because if it's thick, it's just not going to lay down right. Like normal hair, human hair. I guess I should say not normal, but human. Also, the alpaca fiber does tend to curl pretty well. Doesn't hold curl very well, so I'll have to put a lot of like hairspray on it or whatever, mousse. Doesn't hold color well though. I've tried coloring it many times and that's always just does not hold the color well. Alright, so we'll put a little bit on this other side. And then we'll probably put another layer in the back. If you use another type of glue, I will just say that, I'm not saying you have to use E6000, but I like it because it's waterproof, it dries fast, and it's very, very strong. So I like that part of it. So if you used, let's say just like Elmer's glue or white glue, you know, that's water soluble, so you couldn't do much in terms of washing it. And there's times when I have to wash their hair after I put the hair on for different reasons. Maybe sometimes the fibers have some dirt in it that wasn't really cleaned before it was shipped to me. That happens. It's hard to wash it before too, because it'll just come apart into a lot of different little fiber clumps. It's easier to wash it once you have them on the head, as long as you have a waterproof glue. It's also pretty strong, and you know, you can comb the hair pretty well afterwards without worrying about it pulling out. think I've about used up this tube. So we're going to switch over to a new tube. You don't have to put these rows too close together. It gets the hair, you know, it makes the hair too thick if you get them too close. So this is where we are now. Getting close. I'm going to put another row like right across here. Okay. So I hope you guys all survived COVID. I feel like I didn't do anything for like 2 years. It was really weird. I'm fortunate enough that I work from home. I'm a nurse practitioner, for those of you who don't know. And I started doing telehealth about the time COVID started. Before that, I was going into nursing homes, which was like a deadly. And there was a period where they weren't letting anybody even in the nursing homes because of COVID. So everybody had to kind of adapt very quickly to a new way of doing business. But I found out I do like working from home. I really like that part of it because I can do things in between clients and, you know, it's kind of set my own schedule, which is nice. And so that part of it I like. But the part that was hard was I really hardly went out because I was working from home. And because of COVID, I didn't, you know, a lot of things were closed or weren't open, or it was, you know, dangerous to go there. And I didn't want to get it because my husband has had quadruple heart surgery, so bypass surgery, so and I felt like it was kind of deadly for him to get it. So I mostly just stayed home for about 2 years, really. And then last year was kind of my first year getting back to doing normal things. You know, even just going out to eat, or, you know, I used to go shopping a lot. I used to go to Michael's all the time. I mean, Michael's was like my hangout because I was always buying craft stuff, and I just, you know, had to get everything from Amazon. But fortunately, I have Amazon stock, so that was good. Supported that. And then last year, I decided, you know, I'm just not gonna stay in anymore. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna do some of the things I've always wanted to do. One of the things I'm doing is taking French lessons, which I've always wanted to do. And as part of that, I always wanted to go to Paris. So I had 2 trips last year. One was to Quebec City, and that was in April. And that was really, well, I'd always wanted to go there. It's not like I didn't want to go there. I've always wanted to go there. It's a beautiful old city. And I also wanted to be able to practice French some before I went to Paris, because people in Quebec City, a lot of them speak English, so I didn't have to worry as much, like, oh my gosh, what if I get in a situation where I can't Sorry, I got interrupted there. My husband turned on the TV and the sound was coming through. So, yeah, so where was I? Quebec. Yeah, I went to practice French, went to see the city, explore. That was in April. I did post a video, not really like of the sites or anything, but just like a tip video on my channel, along with a little mukbang of Japanese food that I had from Uber Eats while I was there, because one day it rained, so I kind of stayed in. But I really loved it. I really loved Quebec City. It was beautiful. The people were super, super nice and friendly. Like I said, I didn't have to worry because most everybody did speak English. But, I mean, I really tried to speak French because I wanted to use it. The thing was, you know, when people can speak English and they start doing it because they recognize that you can't speak their language, it's just so much easier. So you fall into that trap and you know, just do it. However, you know, in France, it wasn't as prevalent that people spoke English, so you know, I did really have to use it more. But I went to Paris in November, end of October, 1st of November. So I had actually learned more French by then, and then I was just really determined to use it, so it went really well. And I have to say, I just had the best time. I mean, people were so nice. And I don't know if they were just super nice because I was trying to speak their language or what. I don't know. I just, you know, there's a lot of stereotypes about France and people, you know, being, well, basically just a lot of stereotypes about French people being rude. I didn't find that at all. I had a lovely time. I met nice people. I enjoyed it. I would love to go back. The food was great. The atmosphere was great. And I really lucked out to be there at the end of October. The weather was like springtime, honestly. So I had a lovely time and got to speak a lot of French. So plan to go back. So those were my trips last year. This year, I plan to go back to Quebec City because I want to continue to practice my French, and I think my French teacher will be going about the same time I am, so we can work on it together while we're there in some actual situations, which I think that's the way to learn. I mean, I think you really kind of have to be in that immersive atmosphere. You can't just always do it from a book or from a classroom. And I think too, unless you're really forced to use it, like in a situation where you live there and other people don't speak your language, you fall back on, you know, an easy path, which is, you know, thinking that everybody can speak English, which they just can't. So, yeah, so I'm going to go back to Quebec City. This time I'm going to go wintertime, so I'm hoping to go at the end of November. And I wanted to do that for a couple of reasons. One, I actually like cold weather. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. I like it because you can wear more clothes. And I want to see the snow. I want to see Quebec City in the snow. I'm hoping it'll snow while I'm there. And I think it'll be really beautiful. And I wanted to see it with the Christmas decorations. Also, they have a very famous Christmas market that is, it's a German Christmas market. And I think that will be really lovely to see. And also, you know, to do some shopping at the Christmas market. The food there, oh, I really thought the food in Quebec was awesome. I was really pleasantly surprised. I mean, I didn't think it would be awful or anything. I just didn't expect it to be so good. And I don't know how much of that is the French influence, but it was really good. And I don't know if you're familiar with any Canadian cuisine, but the big dish that was popular there is poutine, Poutine. And basically it's French fries, or that's what Americans call it, or chips, other places, frites. And they put gravy and cheese curds on top. And then kind of each place has its own toppings, like they might put different kinds of meat or other types maybe of cheese or different sauces, but the basic is like a cheese curd with a regular gravy and then maybe some crumbled meat, types of meat. They do serve some different types of like elk and stuff like that there. I didn't have any while I was there, but I thought the food was great. They have some hellaciously good charcuterie boards, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And the Japanese food that I had there was probably some of the best Japanese food I've ever had, which was sort of surprising. So I'm going to let this dry and, oh, her arm fell off. I'm going to let this dry and come back because I don't want to get any glue on any other parts. And this will be a little bit more meticulous where I'm filling in close to the hairline. So back in a few. Okay, I think everything is dry now, so we're going to proceed with filling in the rest of the hair. So we have these bald spots on either side. Yeah, so basically what we're going to do is put, it looks like about 2 rows. So we're going to put one across here and then one right up next to the hair up here. Okay, so this will be kind of hard to keep everything in check. So I think what I'll do is tie this off with a ribbon to hold it down. Gonna need just a little bit more. Sometimes I'll use the end of my comb to really press this down, especially when I'm in these tight places. Because you don't want to press it down and then have glue get on the hair up here. So I just put a little bit on the end of the comb. And just gently press it down till you make sure that it's all stuck. Sorry about my dogs barking. Somebody's outside apparently. They're like little doorbells. Alright, I think this is ready to put down the next layer. Now this is the most difficult one because you don't want to get the glue too close over here, but at the same time you want it to be close enough that there's no gap so you don't see a lot of the scalp. So we'll just try to take it gently and press down. I think that looks pretty good. Might be just a little bit more needed right here. All right. So once this dries, we're going to flip the hair over and do the other side that's kind of bare. So we're going to give it a few minutes to dry. All right, I've flipped it over to this side. We're only going to have to put one row here because this side's a little bit uneven. So, oh, I guess I need to prepare the hair first. Get this combed out and flattened. Okay. Now we're going to be very careful and apply this as close as we can without having the glue get on the other hair. All right, and now we're going to let that dry, flip it back over, and start trying to style it. Okay, it's been a few, so let's see what we got here. Got a head full of hair. Whee! All right, So what we have to accomplish now is sort of getting this all to behave, and we got to get the part done, and we've got to get the bangs done. So this is why I like this particular comb, is it has this really thin pointy thing that you can use to separate the hair a little bit easier and make a part. Just get some of the glue. There's some small pieces of glue stuck in here. So what we want is to separate a little bit of this front part out for bangs. And the rest will flip back over. So you pull that apart, and you can sort of see then where you have to pull more or not. So for instance, there's a gap there. So we'll pull a little bit more hair for that area. Now, there's a couple of ways to get the hair to behave. One is just to put some water on it. That'll help hold it down. Get it to set in the area you want it. The other way is to apply some heat. Get this little piece there, I think. Be good. Sometimes you want to do both. Which is kind of what we're going to do. So I have this little tool that looks like this. You can pick this up at a sewing supplies store like Joann's Fabrics. And we're just going to use that to press down. Try not to melt your baby's head in the process. Okay. Now, my philosophy, cutting hair, cut it longer than you need, and then you can cut it more, but you can't go back. So we'll cut it about right here. Probably get this on Amazon too. Didn't even think about that, but I think I actually did get mine at Joann's. Okay, so that part's done for now. Now we want to look at the middle part and separate that. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. So this is the side. So we'll just be looking for half of that to flip over. And again, we may want to put a little water on it. And apply our baby iron. If you have real problems, you can always use some hairspray, but usually this will do it. Okay, so coming along. Starting to look like a little baby girl. If you're afraid you're going to melt it, you could always put something under the hair to put this iron on it. So, you know, sometimes I get to this point, I'm like, you know what, I don't like my original idea of how I was going to style her hair. I want to do it different. But I am going to try to put it in pigtails. I want to see how it would look, because that was my first impulse. Now we didn't put the part all the way down the back, so we're not going to be able to show a real sharp definition of a part. I'm just going to do it kind of like that. So it's sort of a messy pigtail, which, you know, little kids have kind of messy hair, and I think that's very appropriate. Alright, so now I need to find some... I had some little rubber bands here somewhere, and I've lost them. So what we'll do for right now, till I find some, is just to use some of this ribbon. Just so we can see how it'll look. I think I just need to put some more water on this, actually. It's just a lot of hair. It's a whole lot of hair. So it didn't seem like it when we were putting it down, but that's why I said you don't really have to put way huge amounts. But you can start to see how it's going to look. This is just a rough idea. But I'm going to put her clothes on her and then come back and we'll see how we can finally style her. Okay, here's our little girl. Looking super cute in her little overalls. Lots of things you could do with her hair. I've just put it in some loose pigtails, which I may put some ribbons on. Haven't decided yet. Still working on that, but I like how she turned out. A couple other things you could look for. These are things I found on AliExpress. These are kind of big for her. I use these more on Blythe's, but there's like it's a star hair clip, the kind that, you know, when you bend it backwards, it opens up, and then you bend it forward once you have it on. But there are some little small ones. Oh, you can get these little hair clips too, you know, these little clips. But like little clips like this. So even though her hair is, you know, clipped, I mean, it's put in ponytails, you can still use these. I think these are cute. Just to randomly put in, like there or something. That's cute too. Yeah, I'm going to have to work on the bangs to get them to lay down, but just wanted to show you guys a little process of making one of these little cuties. Lots of options that you can do with their hair, with their clothes. I kind of look at the whole picture, you know, like once I see what outfit I want them to wear, then I kind of know how I want them to look with their face and their hair. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and stay tuned for more videos. Not sure if it'll be dolls or what, but probably will be, since I really like to do that. But anyway, thanks for watching, and hope to see you guys soon. And to end up this video, here's a final picture of our cutie with her glasses on. I think she turned out really good.